Welcome to the LinkedIn Power Lab webinar. Today the topic is social selling for job seekers. Typically that means for those which are in a corporate role, but not only. And what I would like to do here as well is to guide you through the material. We use a chat, whatever you would like to talk about it there, and chat, that's good. I will repeat this so everyone can see this. And that's the way how we can get into a discussion, because I also have a couple of questions in it. And first of all, for those who join here for the first time, so my name is Gunnar. I'm a social media consultant. I'm blogging about social selling for 197 weeks in a row, which is quite a bit. I created online courses. I wrote a couple of books. And so that's all what I can say here about myself. And Pix, having you there from the Northern Beaches there, you might even realize where that is in Newport, not too much far ahead from yourself in the Merivale over there. So what I would like to cover for today are three things. First of all, why social selling for job seekers? And most people would believe LinkedIn is perfect to find work. You only need to click and apply. In my view, not. It's not everything. Second, what to do, activities for inbound and outbound. And the third one is when to do it, kind of action plan to support landing the dream role, whatever that actually means. Doesn't necessarily mean full employment, but at least a change in life with more work to come. So that's what I would basically want to cover for today. And let's get started. So first of all, about the why I believe that adding social selling, which includes the word selling or sales, into finding the next opportunity is there. So therefore, my question, maybe you can type in the chat as well. What is the alternative to search for a job on LinkedIn and just apply? What is the alternative? So let me write this in the chat. What is the alternative? I show you mine, my alternative that I had one day: create a dream job with the company. Tell you what I mean with that. I wanted to work at a software vendor here in Sydney in Barangaroo, but they didn't have the role that would suit well for me. I applied on something else, a little bit lower than what I could do. I got into connection with the VP of sales, who I met beforehand, lucky enough. And he said, Gunnar, I don't want you to do the job. You can, but you would be bored. I need you to drive a channel strategy that we didn't have, selling through the middleman. So we created this. And that is for me, one of the alternatives for that. So what did you say there? Connect with the advertisers, same, good one. Connect with people first. Pix, you are a good connector, I know that. Create a specific profile, Gavin, right? Talk to network research companies. Good one. Yes. So how does a typical job search actually look like? So you would go to a company career page when you need it, not when they have something, but typically when people need. So in my case, I'm currently open for work. So I would now go and find, hey, here is a company I would love to work for. Proofpoint as an example, that's cybersecurity software vendor from the US with a decent office here, market leading, and senior channel account manager. Looks great, but we only see what's visible. We don't see the roles which are in the hidden job market. And if I would apply here, it would go to the application tracking system, or ATS. That's not necessarily that good. So the alternative is I would find work not on the company page, but just on LinkedIn or on Seek, which is the that type of alternative. But the tricky thing on LinkedIn, many roles that you see there might not exist anymore, because automatically they might be reposted after 4 weeks, and that doesn't really always work. So that's not necessarily a good thing. So that's why I strongly believe there must be much more than that. At least, typically, behind LinkedIn or Seek would be a person, not just only a machine. And some people might think that LinkedIn actually represents an online CV, but in my view, not. On LinkedIn, I would write completely differently compared to what's on the CV. So, more the clever approach. So imagine like this one. There's a job advertise on LinkedIn from a company which actually is LinkedIn. So more the clever approach is not to apply, but rather find out who do we know there. I've taken this slide yesterday. For this lovely role, already 200 applicants. Oh, so many. But I have 17 connections, and 7 people went to the same school. Good one. Which already shows choosing a good school that people make a career from has a value. And that sense was the Australian Institute of Management. So I didn't press on easy apply. I found out who I know, because it could be that those get some kind of referral dollars for that, or at least it positions them, or they can help me. So then I would ask the people. So I found 17, 3 of them here are listed, and I worked actually with Amanda last year, and early this year it would be perfect to talk who is the hiring manager, what is the culture of the team, is it what you think the person left who doesn't have it anymore, that people might know it. So it's higher likelihood to open doors. At the referrer, I would ask Amanda, she even could request a status of feedback. It's a more clever approach instead of just only applying. But it requires one thing. It requires to have built a network beforehand. Not everyone has that. Many people, when they start working, then they sit there, the work is all good, and they don't network. Only when they need it for the next role. Far too late. That from the regular or typical one to the clever one. Let's get one step further and get into the smart one. Here's another one. So I saw a post in my feed from this David Wang, who I don't know, but apparently second grade contact. And he is excited to share he joined Okta, which is another IT software company. And I've been working with them, so that's good. So what would I do? Congratulate him, follow up, find him, and so on. But the person doesn't know me. But my point here is this one. And this person changed. Apparently, he came from somewhere. And when this is a role, not a growth inside the company, but across companies, he might leave an open headcount somewhere else. Doesn't have to be, but might. So I looked, what is he doing? And that gentleman, David, has been before at CrowdStrike, another fantastic cybersecurity related IT vendor in North Sydney. Brilliant. Now I know that there are great roles. I learned that people from CrowdStrike, apparently it's a good stepping stone to go to a next organization. Himself, he went from a normal sales and regional sales into then a senior outside. So this means it's good to join CrowdStrike to go further into internally. He has done movements, but also further. Good. And then that means what I would do is to imagine I would be interested in his role. I would then not directly contact David because he's now at Okta, but I want to find out who I know at CrowdStrike. So that's a way how to read the feed that someone made a move. And that's an extremely smart way. And when you do this over a while, so now I'm maybe 2 weeks in doing this, and I built my list of companies which are now hiring because of movements. And that's what I can find out. So that's good. So why do I want to apply social selling activities instead of just applying for jobs? Simply because I can listen to the market, I can find out who's hiring, and I can utilize the network which I have built beforehand, which is not always the case, I know. But in my case, it was. So that's more the smart way approach for that. So that's this. Does anyone have any question in between? Please feel free to use the chat. Otherwise, I'm happy to take the next broader picture, a topic. By the way, some of the chat that I wanted to talk as well. One of you mentioned research and companies, so this way includes that. And another one said using groups, LinkedIn groups. For me, LinkedIn groups can be the largest cemetery on social media. There's not much going on there, except in some very niche areas. And therefore, as you wrote this, I know that you're in the risk management area, and there it's more specialized, and that's a way how people build their networks. If you are a member of a group, the good thing is you do not need to be connected to everyone. You can still communicate, which normally you can't when you don't know the people. Good one. So let's look rather into the what. Question to you. Be honest. When is the when is the last time you shared a post where you wrote by yourself? When did you share a post you wrote? I mean on LinkedIn, not Facebook, not Twitter. I answer for myself today in the morning. I typically 5 years was a good answer. I'm happy with that. When we are open for work, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to penetrate our market daily with posts. No, but we need content that we have done whenever as a reference, findable. So that's the good stuff. Who else? 1 week ago. I haven't seen that. Somebody said 2 weeks ago. Good. So let's get further. And let me take a typical example. How would we actually utilize content when we are in an area of, by example, of IT sales? So here's a colleague of mine I worked with in the past. He worked at a company called XREF. What they do is a software solution for collecting references in the job search. Nice. Instead of everything manually, there's a technology for that. Lovely. So he would normally take what they have and post that. And he might wonder why there's not much engagement. Often, brand content has graphics instead of photos. Here's a bit of a mix of that. And rarely you find reasonable engagement. Not necessarily good. So then if I would find a person who's only using corporate material, it looks like the person is a corporate billboard, but doesn't have a personal brand, maybe not a subject matter expert, and might not develop their own thoughts. And as I wrote here as an example, IT sales industry, if I'm a sales manager, I want my sales reps to be able to write at least proposals and communication with prospects and clients. The best way to write their own capabilities about what they offer is in form of a post. So therefore, the alternative is to use an advocacy tool. So what I had in my last company. So I would have ready to go content. But the tricky thing of this one is that while it looks like easy to do, you click on a button and you have something more than on the left-hand side. Rarely is personalized. So what I would do, I would add a couple of lines. I'd ask a question like this one here, have some kind of thoughts, and only after these 4 paragraphs came the normal automated content. So I would tweak whenever I can, and then there's more engagement. Content is there to get engagement, not just to be there. And we don't want to be a corporate billboard. That's important as well. So that's typical. But what are employers actually looking for? And that might be different industry by industry. And I might not be the only hiring manager in that sense who has who's interested in that my new hires would be visible. But typically what we hear from all the interviews I had over the last couple of years. So this means something like people want you come from similar backgrounds. So one of you here is in the risk management space. So that ideally the person has a good experience and knows the industry. Brings a relevant network. That's very important. Now the industry and the territory. So if I would say I would have a role, not just Australia, but Asia Pacific, and I could already prove I've been doing activities in Singapore and Japan and Philippines and Thailand. Good, lovely. I also want to know that I'm a subject matter expert, that I have proven that I can talk the topics. Maybe I even have been invited by my last company to speak at a conference. That looks good because then I can do it for the new company as well. I of course want to know that I can prospect new clients and partners in sales, or when I'm in a more support related role, more of farming role, slightly different on this line number 5. And then I can ignite a following. So if I, with a network of whatever, 8,000 people go there, it means plenty of people would hear about my new company. That's what they want. And that's not only in a corporation the case. So if, for example, I would create a new networking group on the lower North Shore of Sydney, and I would like to invite pigs, and pigs, you have a fantastic large network. I would love you to come along. I know that you're normally a little bit north towards northern beaches, but still, you know, so many people, it could be good. So therefore, this bringing a following is a good one. And bringing further talent in the sense of people like to work with people or follow leaders that have been already with. So then I would move to a company, I could maybe bring those, my co-workers as well. That is typically what they're looking for. By the way, to the question that already came into now in the chat, there was a question of what was it for? Let me just open it again. What if can you do a poll? You can do a poll. That's very good. That's a nice one. Also, one of you said, interesting, I've seen people write about their job seeking activity. I include myself on it. Normally, I would rather be silent because it looks like failure to be on a search, but actually it's not. And that's the way how you can address this. So therefore, I talked today about a topic like layoffs. That's always an option as well. So this is what they're normally looking for. And how can you bring this? Ideally, the next employer can find something about you in these 7 points. And even better, they find it without asking. That would be good. So, how to do it? Using social selling activity. Social selling doesn't mean to sell on social. Social selling means that you can advance business conversations using professional social media, especially LinkedIn, and to a certain extent also Twitter. So that works because if you have a magnetic, no-brainer profile, what I mean with that is that it looks enticing, it's accurate, it's current, and you have, like typically with the CV, you have 7 seconds to find out a yes or no question, and you can see this on LinkedIn as well. Don't declare mine being brilliant, but at least it's a good starting point. The next one, you need to know how to find and connect right level of people. Very relevant. That comes from particular social selling activities. The third one is you share relevant content. If you have done this before, you can do it for the next company as well. Here was the example I had of Proofpoint. Imagine I would work there. Didn't start interviews yet, but I mean, imagine, and I have been writing about topics beforehand when I've been in my last 3 companies actually. That would be good for Proofpoint as well. And you know how to convert. So these are the 4 things about the profile: connecting, content, converting. These are the social selling activities we could do. So let me show you what I mean with that and getting through those in those bold words. So there's, in my view, top 10 points how you can turn your LinkedIn profile into a magnetic one. And those of you who know me for a bit, you might wonder, I have a new banner at the end, which doesn't show any company, just myself, and it shows what I can do for whom. My typical topics I like to be known for, like social selling is there, boards and leaders are there, a picture on the right-hand side showing me as a speaker at the Institute of Managers and Leaders, pointing, lucky enough, also the right level where the 3 lines are, enterprise alliances, partnership, what I love to do. Yeah, so that's what I've done there. So let's look. The first thing is the headline. Typically, many people have their role at company. That was sometimes when LinkedIn has been perceived as an online CV, but that cannot be everything. So there should be more to it. Therefore, I would rather like to say I changed this. And that means if I look this further, the headline you see I put there enterprise alliances, general partner manager, all as keywords searchable. Social selling, it's even written that it's ex-Hootsuite, I'm not there anymore, SaaS, all of these type of words. So you can have keyword related, make sure that the most important ones are on the first line, that sits under every part of the content, or you can have it based on more a sentence to say what you do to help whom to achieve what. That works also, particularly it works well for small businesses. And then these are the two options you can do. So headline is very, very, very important. Photo is the next one. Okay, that's a professional headshot, should be professional, obviously not self-made because the light would never be good. Background image I just talked about. Location and industry, nobody sees the industry, but make sure that the industry that you are in my case, the software sales, is switched on rightly so that people who are looking for someone in that industry, they can be found because it's not optically visible. Contact info include a phone number because you would like to get some work. That's also included for consultants who would like to get contracts because they need to be reached. That's important. And the next one is the about section. By the way, there was one comment here. When I'm a government employee, how do you use the headline for your benefit? When you're a government employee, let's say, take me an example, a risk manager at Sydney Airport. I know you are not, but imagine you would be. Then you could even broaden this up and add something about the outcome that you can achieve for that organization. And in case you would lead people, you can add this one as well. You can take keywords based on, like I've done here with the little vertical lines to separate them. Or you can put something, imagine you would be in a government role, which not everyone is really so LinkedIn related, but can be done this way. Then you would also showcase an outcome. Imagine you would be project manager at whatever, Western Sydney Airport, and you would put the outcome, let's say, launching the airport below budget, or whatever outcome you related, you can put in there. It can be creative and can ask you. About section, that's the most critical thing for most people. That can be actually written in the first person. That would be good, not in the third anymore. And don't put fluff in it like too much bragging words. Let's say passionate, result-oriented, all of this kind of stuff makes no sense. The next one would be experience. Ensure that everything in your profile is based on achievements. You would basically say what you have done. So in my risk management past, for example, I would have, or I actually have written that for that role, I built a channel strategy and so on. But then in terms of achievement, what was the outcome of this? Easy for salespeople, done 150% of quota performance, went to the President Club 3 years in a row, a bit bragging. But you can always show certain achievements about how much money you made, how much money you saved, how many projects you closed, and how much you brought the culture forward. Typical 4 areas of showing achievements. Good to write achievement there, because that's what actually counts. I would like to have you doing something like that. Education, certification, the older we get, we can maybe delete the years when we started studying, whatever. And certifications would be good. For example, if I wanted to work at Microsoft and I had some certificates for that, it would be good to show that. Skills and recommendations, that's an interesting one as well. In the meantime, in 2022, it's easier than the last 3 years to add some kind of endorsements for skills. You only need to click. It was more complicated beforehand. And for recommendations, if you're open for a role for the next one, would be good to have not just peer co-workers giving you a nice one. They say, oh, it was nice to sit next to Gunnar, I learned from him. but rather ask your direct manager for it, ask customer if they want to, or if you work with whatever business partners, that would be good to have as well. And I'm very happy that I received 2 of them lately, so then that really helped. The LinkedIn profile URL is good when you put them into a system. Sometimes they need that, and you have done a nice one, like in my case, linkedin.com/in/Gunnar as easy. You also see one thing. You can show in 2 ways that you're open to work. The first one is at the bottom, this gray box, where you would say what you want to do. That is not only for employment, it also works for those who are consultants and they are open to work to offer their services. That works as well. And the second one, LinkedIn offers a kind of rounded shape around the face on the left-hand side, like hiring, for example, or open to work would be in green around that. I decided against because it would be visible small even when it's about content, and that I didn't want. I only have it there, so that's good enough. What you could add, and I haven't, next to my name, and there's also he and him, okay. Next to it, you can have a pronunciation feature. You have the chance of recording, I think, either 10 or 30 seconds of your voice, and people know how you talk, so that's good. I had that, but it was related to the old company and you need to re-record it. The next one, what I've done as a content creator, I have the creator mode on LinkedIn. So this means below the headline is written talks about, and that's the 5 hashtags. As a consequence, the blue button, which today shows open to for me, it would be written for all of you if you would go to my profile and you were not connected. I think, Gavin, you connected yesterday, but if you were not, there would be follow, not connect. Right? That is a creator mode, but that's all details. So that at least is to complete the story. So now's the best time to go through and even look, how did I write the experience sections? What have I done for who to achieve what? So that's important. When we have that, then it's up to the time to increase our network. Basically, we need to put and ensure that all those people who can talk about us, where we would like to keep them in the network, like former customers and colleagues, ensure you are connected with them. I look after partners, slash maybe suppliers. So that's important to have also connected with them. We can connect with supporters, that treat them like cheerleaders, and influencers, whatever influencer means for your area. So for some, of course, some for you on the risk management side of things, influencer for me means those organizations like Governance Institute, if you know someone over there. Phil, for you, maybe AICD, the Australian Institute of Company Directors. These type of influence of thought leaders in that space. It's good to be connected to some, because they have a big network. So that's important. So then when we want to connect with them, it's a good way to do this personalized, because there's one thing which is totally underrated, and that is using LinkedIn messaging as a search engine. If I wanted to know what was the name of the person I met in my first week in Sydney in the membership corner of the Institute of Management, and I would not know, Phil, that it's you, then I can type it in, because when we connected initially, that's exactly what I wrote. So when we connect with someone, put some words in the, like a hook, that you know you will be able to search for this later. Helps to remember. And the personalized invite is so easy on the desktop. You only click on, say, add a note, and then you can write something. So he was for Joseph. We chat about Bright Talk. Looking forward to talking to you soon and to connect. Good, easy on the desktop. And most don't know that on the mobile it works as well. You can see here this big blue connect button. I'm somewhat allergic in pressing that. Instead, I see that next to it is message, and then are 3 little dots. I click on the 3 little dots, and then I get a menu, and that tells me personalized invite. Good one. And then I have the chance to also write that. So let's look into, so after profile is ready and after the LinkedIn invite is good, let's look into content. So instead of using only what the company gives me, let's create something. Let me show you some examples. So, and here's one that I had or maybe a good week ago. And look at the impressions. Big surprise. So many. 70 reactions, like whatever. A couple of comments, 1 share, and massive impressions. It got viral. Does anyone know of you what viral on LinkedIn actually means? When does a post get viral? Anyone knows? And let me tell you, a post is viral when it achieves or reaches 3 times your followers. And not connections, but followers. I have about 8,500. And as soon as this post got 3 times of that, which would be 25, 26,000, then it got another boost. So, but what can we actually write about? We are a candidate. We don't have the next role yet. We don't have the next contract yet. So what we can do, and that relates into Phil, what you just wrote, that some people even talk about that in the market. Yes, why not? That you can say. If you don't put it on, hey, I need to work, but rather something more, that's more humble, that would be good. I've done this and I got inquiries coming just from the post. Second one, what did you learn in your role? Always good. Don't be the teacher, be the learner and share what you learned. That's good. Third one, what are the challenges in your profession? Always good to talk about that. When I've been in risk management, I use this quite a bit when it comes to emergency management. Many of you might remember here in Sydney, there was this big emergency in the shooting at the Lind Cafe many, many years ago. Writing about that, always good. Understanding of customer problems. And customer problem can be even for those which are teaching, like Phyllis, what's your case? You can understand it, you know what's going on. Imagine you would have done that. And your last post is not 5 years ago, but even maybe 3 months, and you talked about some of customer problems. And someone would like to give you work and find out what you're writing. And then it finds this post where you wrote that you understand something. It surely gets you an advantage compared to the average person. That's my point. Doesn't have to write content, but it gets you an advantage. And that's the only thing what we want. We can write a success story, not as a bragging way why this product you sold is good, but what the client does with it. How does it change their life, their customers? That's what counts. Then attending industry events or webinars that I've been using quite a lot, and I share what I learned from that. And finally, shout out to others. Use it as a stage. Ideally, maybe put pictures on. So one day, I think with at least 1 or 2 of you, I also have done that. And that looks good, like normal people. Not just myself as in this example, but it's at least as one example. Next one, highlight your partners or suppliers. You work with this or with that. Good one to showcase as well. You can talk about personal development. Show what you learn. Show what are the challenges. Everything like this. And the last one, which I like as well, tips of recommending books or podcasts. That gets you also nice following. So that's where you can build your network based on content, as long as you know which direction you would like to go. Any question? Not at this stage. I have one. So that was the biggest part in the webinar for today that I just went through with you. And now closing this off with when. So there was there's now a trend of recommended LinkedIn courses. I have one as well, but I thought for today it's not a selling webinar. So how much time do you invest daily in your job search? So how much time? I asked the question in the chat. Do you invest in job search? In all theory, we can say 8 hours, 9 to 5. But makes no sense. So my view is, so my answer, LinkedIn, 60 minutes per day. And everything else comes from there. Some are more passive, some are more active, depends what's current or not. Couple of things around that, what to look at. And that is this one. Who viewed your profile? Sammy, you will like this. The screenshot is a bit older, but I started to write more about cyber-related risk management in November. There you can see that. That's not this year, not last year, was before. And then the profile views went to the roof. That was lovely. If you have LinkedIn Premium, you can see who viewed your profile up to 90 days back. You cannot filter nicely, but you can filter a bit. Something what LinkedIn calls an interesting view. If you don't have LinkedIn Premium, you only see the last 5 people. Not good. So then when I left my last company, then of course LinkedIn Premium was gone. Didn't have Sales Navigator anymore, so I had to buy my own because it really makes sense. So let's get further here. Who viewed the profile? How can we do this? Need to have LinkedIn Premium. And if you never had that, you can get it even for free for 30 days. Totally worth it. Absolutely. And that here is currently is $49.99 Australian. Don't know in other currencies. Has been $10 cheaper 2 years ago. Okay, so what? So for me, I take it because it gets me chances to reach out to people by email, 10 per month. And I have extended network access, and I can also write to others. And I can research more. And that for me is an important topic, that it doesn't look like let's say I can research more often, otherwise LinkedIn would stop that. Hi Shaz, thanks for joining. I'll put you on mute. So please use the chat if you want to talk. So then for me, this premium career one is totally worth it. So now action plan. What can we actually really do? These are the things. So assuming the profile, the LinkedIn profile is up to date and your CV is good, that you don't need to show here, but at least it's good. And then we can actually be here 30 to 60 minutes per day. And here are a couple of activities, at least 10 of them. So if you posted content, check the comments from the whole inbound side of thing. In terms of that one, if you're a job seeker or contract seeker, you don't post too often, but you do occasionally. So I do maybe 3 days in a week, not more. As an employee, I would have done more, but now I need to be more focused. But then if I post it on good timings, like morning, I check the comments. I reply quickly. I accept incoming requests. Typically, people don't take the respect to write some lines. So I need to filter and find out if I want to accept them. But of course, I write them because you never know who stands all behind. And I introduce maybe incoming people with others. So when I see that some of you haven't been to this webinar beforehand, but I find out there's some person like Carrie who's in your industry as well. I think, hey, what about I introduce both of you because you have something in common and you will be happy. Critical thing for inbound, to reply to triggers. Maybe someone has the role change, what I showed earlier in the deck today. That out of someone changing a company, I see who the person came from, and there might be a chance to connect with them. Or maybe have a birthday. So I build a part of my network here in Sydney based on birthday wishes. Always at least one day in a year that is worth to talk to someone. And checking who viewed the profile that I just mentioned before. That's important as well. And then getting further, outbound activities. So I would listen socially to target companies. So social listening without using big tools, but you can do this quite easily, that you read and find out what's going on with them. You follow the right companies. You maybe have them on a list on paper, Excel, whatever, and find out what's going on there. So imagine you would want to work in a company who just have been acquired by another one. You better know that. Better be prepared. Connect with the right people. Which one are the right and which are not the right one? Of course, you have your list of target companies, industry, and then that's where you would work. Find out who are the right players for those companies around them. For example, once I mentored a lady from London, and she wanted to work in the ecosystem of Salesforce. Good one. So I connected her with a person here in Sydney who just has done the move from working at a Salesforce partner and then moved to Salesforce. So I encouraged her in London to join a partner company of Salesforce. And then 1 year later, she landed directly at Salesforce. So thanks to getting the inspiration that I've done from here to her in London. So that is about the right people. And one day it can come back. You never know. Commenting on posts from others, that's important as well. And not only that you look at your own content, but commenting on what they are doing. I think it's an important topic, because with commenting, you can find your own voice. That's good. You can even comment on a potential hiring manager. And you find out who does that. You comment yourself into an organization so that they basically reach out to you instead of the other way around. Share relevant content where suitable. Might not work for everything, but at least good enough. Then write your own material. I do 3 times per week now. Once per week is good enough when it's decent. And then sending direct messages on LinkedIn. And you can send voice messages and video messages on LinkedIn, which I think most haven't done yet. But it's nice. Much more personal. So this is basically what I prepared all together. What we went through was alternatives to click and apply, activities inbound, outbound, action plan to support landing the next role, and utilizing all what the social seller would do also for job search. Going through the profile, connecting well, and utilizing content. Looking into the chat, any further questions? I see some of you wrote when you was made redundant. No, you were not made redundant, just your role. Never forget that, not you. So it's a big learning I had to go through as well. So what else could we have? Any further question from any one of you? Please let me know. We still have some time. Would be good. Do we hear from anyone? Still there? Yes.
Phil here. You're using messaging and search. I think I missed how to actually do the search in messaging, but that really piqued my attention because I was wondering how to track people from different places. And that seems like a really useful tool.
So if you would go into, ideally actually on the desktop, but mobile works as well. If you go to the messaging part of LinkedIn, it also has a search bar. Typically, you would type in the person who you want to find out if you wrote with them. But even more typically, when you know who, you would first go on the profile of someone and then click on messages and you see the dialogue with them. But here the context would be, you talk to someone about something, but you forgot the name. So therefore, you go straight on LinkedIn, straight to the messaging tab. And in the search bar, you type in keywords. So if you would type in there, membership corner, that's a term that you and I wrote about 6 years ago. It might be able then to find with whom you had these words of membership corner. It goes especially well when you first plant the seeds. in a connection request. For example, I attended a networking event and I connected with people on Friday afternoon, and I said, nice meeting you at Fish Burners. Okay, I don't go there very often, like weekly things, maybe every couple of years. So if I forgot who I met there, then I would go to the messaging tab and simply write Fish Burners, and then I get maybe messages of 10 people who I wrote about it, the word Fish Burner. So that's how to use that. But thank you for the further comments. So then one comment here was about what's the best way to comment with humor or half serious. I think that depends on the context. If you are if you were an accountant, financial planner, or anything like that, then humor might not necessarily be the right case. Depends on personality. I know one recruiter who's very, very vocal and provocative. He would truly do this and have also some more direct casual words in it. Really depends on person, brand, and the context. I would add a bit of humor as well. But be careful, because when you comment, you do it in an open space. Not everyone would get it. And it's especially difficult when you're not native English speaker, like with myself. Sometimes I might hit something that others see not well or not nice enough. So therefore I need to pay attention to that. Next one. What else question we have out there? Thank you, Gavin. You can take something from advice. That's good. Also for marketing, happy to help you with more advice on that one. And also a bit to process. Yeah, thank you for that. Learning and deciding. Yes, so that's good. So I think some of the material that I have here makes sense to go through when it's relevant to you instead of just when I have it. So therefore, what I can do, so I said on this call, there's nothing promotional. Normally I might have something, but not today, because the topic of job search is where I do not want to, let's say, take advantage of the fact that somebody is looking for work, because if there are, then their affordability might be rather limited, and I'm not a career coach and don't want to be. But I know some, so that I could divert to someone more suitable. So therefore, if anyone needs any help like this, happy to run on a quick discovery call. There's a link that I will share. Just brainstorming a little bit. Feel free to connect with me. But otherwise, no kind of offering today. So that's what I wanted to share for today, what I prepared, and what will come. For all of you who registered for this webinar beforehand and you accepted that I can send you emails, then you will also receive an email tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Sydney time, including the link to the recording and the slides. Both of them will be also published on linkedinpowerlab.com, just normal. You can find it anytime, any day. Any question, please feel free to ask either now or whenever you have time for that. Yeah, there was the question how to watch your previous recordings. Let me just share the link. Our previous recordings on, let me type it, LinkedIn PowerLab.com. All the last, including this one, 31 episodes are there. Good one. That's all what I wanted, what I prepared for today. Thank you everyone for joining. Looking forward to talk to you next time. Typically every second month on the third Monday. Today was a bit later. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Gunnar.
Thanks, Gunnar.